Welcome to tonight's video on the double angle formulas, section 5.3. Remember, the double angle formulas are found from taking the fact that 2 theta is the same as just saying theta plus theta. So remember from last section, the sum and difference formula is cosine theta or cosine x, cosine y, in this case they're both theta, minus sine x, sine y. And now you have cosine squared minus sine squared. Same formula applies for sine of theta plus theta. Remember, it was sine x cosine y plus cosine x sine y. So when you add those, because they're like terms, you get 2 sine theta cosine theta. And that's also how you got the tangent formula. So now, how do we apply these double angle formulas? Well, the first problem says if the sine of theta is 5/13 and it's in the second quadrant. So here's theta, and it's 5/13 because this is your reference angle. Then if the sine is 5/13, then what is the cosine of theta? Well, you first have to find the missing side. You could do the Pythagorean theorem, or you could know that this is a 5, 12, 13 Pythagorean triple. And since it's in the second quadrant, that means the cosine is negative. So it's negative 12 over 13. The tangent would be negative 5/12. So sine of 2 theta is 2 sine theta cosine theta. So you substitute in, and you get 2 times 5/13 times negative 12/13. And 2 times 5 times negative 12 gives you negative 120 over 169. And notice you might think, well, isn't sine positive in the second quadrant? But if you double it, it's either going to go to the third or fourth quadrant where it's negative. Cosine 2 theta is cosine squared minus sine squared. The cosine squared is negative 12/13. The cosine is negative 12/13. The sine is 5/13. When you square both of those, here you get 144 over 169 minus 25 over 169. So it's 119 over 169. For the tangent, remember it's 2 tangent theta over 1 minus tangent squared. So it's 2 times negative 5/12 over 1 minus negative 5/12 squared. When you multiply here, you get negative 10/12 over 1 minus 25 over 144. 1 minus 25 over 144 is 119 over 144. Then remember, when you divide, you multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So 12 goes into 144 12 times. So you get negative 120 over 119. All right, the double angle formulas to find the exact value. You look and see, well, which formula is this? This is the tangent of 2 theta. Theta is 15 here, so tangent 2 times 15 equals tangent 30. And the tangent of 30 is rad 3 over 3. When you're dealing with cosine squared minus sine squared, that's the cosine of 2 theta. And theta, once again, is 15. So cosine 30 is square root of 3 over 2. Using these for identities. So here Well, you're going to use the fact that 3 theta is 2 theta plus theta. So we're going to use the sum and difference formula. So it's cosine 2 theta cosine theta minus sine 2 theta sine theta. Then we substitute. Cosine 2 theta is cosine squared minus sine squared. And then sine 2 theta is 2 sine theta cosine theta. Here we're going to distribute. So we get cosine to the third minus sine squared cosine. And then here, when we just multiply it in, it becomes 2 sine squared cosine. We don't distribute because of the fact that there's no plus sign between the terms. So then when we combine like terms, we get cosine to the third minus 3 sine squared cosine. And then we look up here and we need everything to be in terms of cosine. So that means we can substitute for the sine squared. We're going to make it 1 minus cosine squared. And so when we distribute, it becomes minus 3 cosine theta minus 3 cosine to the third. So it becomes, plus 3 cosine to the third, because minus times minus. So it becomes 4 cosine to the third minus 3 cosine theta. All right, the last one is very similar. We're just going to use the fact that sine 3 theta is 2 theta plus theta. So we expand it out into sine 2 theta cosine theta plus cosine 2 theta sine theta. Sine 2 theta is 2 sine theta cosine theta times the cosine theta plus cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta times the sine. Then when you distribute, here you just multiply, so you get 2 sine theta cosine squared plus, here you distribute and get cosine squared theta sine minus sine to the third. Combine the sine and cosine squared, so you get 3 sine theta cosine squared minus sine to the third. Oops, it went away. There it goes. All right, so then you substitute in, and you get cosine squared is 1 minus sine squared. And then you distribute. So 3 sine theta minus 3 sine to the third minus sine to the third. And then you combine the like terms, and that's where you get the 4 sine to the third. All right, and that's today's video on the double angles. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Have a good evening.